Hello and welcome. This is Gray Hughes of Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube. This channel evaluates all aspects of true crime. As you are aware, videos and live streams in this genre often discuss elements of crime that may be disturbing to some viewers. If necessary, take the precautions needed to avoid these feelings. Factual information related to cases is the key to fostering rational true crime discussions. Fortunately, you will find that here. Please hit the like button only once, share the video, and subscribe if you like my content. Thank you very much for watching. Still Christmas time. How the hell's it going, everybody? All right. Look at that brown-eyed girl right out of the gate. Very cool. Brown-eyed girl right out of the gate. You, my brown-eyed girl. There you go. There you go. And hello, sweet Caroline and Plato, not Play-Doh, everybody. It's Plato, as in Socrates and Aristotle. Amber Maiden, what's going on? Alley Kick, Daphne, L.A., Chris Cunningham. Don't expect there to be a lot of people. I have the word cold case up there. Oh God. Forget it. The first one we're gonna do is one we've already done before. Hey, thanks, Herbert Landscaping, for all your landscaping needs in upstate New York. What the heck, Amber Maiden? Well, Jesus. Thanks, Amber. Wow. How's your mouth going, by the way? I think I might have just missed that. How's everything going with your mouth? Is everything starting to feel more normal and natural again, or a few hiccups along the way? Thanks, LA. Jaw is great. Having surgery on my arm. So your jaw and everything is great. That's so cool. That is the coolest shit ever. And then the surgery on your arm is what? To free up like compression on a nerve or something, or what? Because that happened during your surgery, right? It had nothing to do with strapping you down usually. You know, they don't tell you that, but when they strap you down for certain surgeries, they strap you so hard that it actually can create nerve damage. Oh, so they actually ruined your nerve. That's insane. A nerve graft. Wow, that's crazy. So they're putting a nerve in there from somewhere else that will still conduct a signal, something like that. That's wild. They did not pad my elbow. Yeah, exactly, yeah. It's crazy what they do, you guys. You know, somebody needs to train these anesthesiologists a little bit better. I mean, they're good at that part of it, but the strapping people down, they freaking suck. You know, they got to make something a little bit better. No, man, they did it so tight on me where they strap you down so tight that it actually affected my brachial plexus, you know, and I had no use of my like bicep or tricep. It was just messed up. Even though it was still connected, I got lucky on that. Well, hopefully they're doing that surgery for free, Amber Maiden. Thanks, your gypsy. Not my gypsy, but your gypsy. Yeah, hopefully it's free, like Plato said. L and I is... Oh. I don't know what that is, but... I mean, they should be just doing a freebie with the best they can find to fix something when it's their own error like that. Oh, workers' comp. Seems like they would go after... The workman's comp would actually go after the hospital, too, to get, so they don't have to pay that. It's kind of wild. Hey, thanks, WNC Granny. All right, the one that we're going to do first is one that we've done before, but there's more information this time. I found an article. I was talking to, I think, I don't know if it's the daughter, maybe? I think it's... Hold on, let me see. I actually don't know. Let's see. I'll just send a message. I think the dogs on the screen are over to the left over there somewhere, buried underneath those blankets. Okay. And we got the buy me a coffee situation going on. It's like right here, if anybody wants to do that. Okay, so the person I've been talking to is the sibling, not daughter. All right. And I've been talking to her since we covered it like 2 years ago. I mean, off and on. Because it's one of the cases that I've offered to, to cover the entire DNA, FGG, IgG, whatever the hell you want to call it, on the case. It's the Cheryl Lynn Springfield case. And it's in Fort Worth, Texas, back in 1980 on Christmas Day, actually. Hey, thanks, Michelle H. So quiet. Where's my... I have to have that playing somehow. Got to be just going a little bit in the background. That's crazy, Amber. I think that's a huge... Somebody needs to look into that element. I think there's so much suffering going on by the people who strap people down in surgeries. Unnecessary problems. I don't know what that means, Vicky. No idea what you're saying. Everybody does the same thing. Everybody has CODIS and everybody is doing FGG, IgG at this point as well. I don't know what you're referring to, though. I haven't said anything yet. All right, so here we go. This is on December 26th. The CODIS prior. I don't know what you're talking about, Vicky. I have no idea what you're referring to or anything. Nobody knows what you're referring to about this case at all. Yikes. Okay, man bringing presents to children find former wife nude and strangled. So immediately you'd think, oh my God, maybe the husband actually did it. But he didn't, because there was kids there. A man found... Let me turn this down even more. A man found his former wife nude and strangled with an electrical cord Thursday morning, lying next to her Christmas tree while their 2 children cried in a bedroom, police said. So she had 2 kids. I think one of them passed away since then. But they were in a bedroom, and then Cheryl Springfield, 21, of 3370 Whittier, was found about 6 a.m. by the man who was bringing Christmas gifts to his 10-month-old girl and 3-year-old boy, police said. So I think that 3-year-old son might not be, I think he died at some point somewhat recently. The children were crying in a back bedroom when the man and his woman companion, who were not identified, immediately entered the house, Police Lieutenant V.A. Ferris said. The father went to check on the youngsters, Ferris said. When the man returned to the living room, he saw the nude body. So let's see, the children were crying in a back bedroom. So he opens the door, they're crying in a back bedroom. And he was with a female companion, and they were not identified immediately. Entered the house, Police Lieutenant V.A. Ferris said. The father went to check on the youngsters, but then when he returned to the living room, he saw the nude body of his former wife next to the tree, Ferris said. Medical investigators R.O. Medford said the cord from an iron had been wrapped around the woman's throat and knotted. Detective R.L. Mullins said the woman apparently had been assaulted sexually. Police have no suspects in the case, Mullins said. Yeah, so it's not the husband. I mean, the ex-husband. He was there with the wife, and the kids were already crying in a back bedroom. So you pretty much throw that out. Okay, that's the same one. Thanks, Morier. Yeah, I had no idea what you're referring to up there. Mickey White. I have no idea. Because we're just going over like a case, and you're talking about FBI, like, just doesn't make any sense to what we're doing. Alright, so the women may have known her killer. So this is from December 27th. Yeah, it sounds like it, right? I mean, just the way it is. I mean, I guess the timing, you could think it was somebody that was trying to break into the house, but they didn't seem to take anything. A woman who was found strangled and possibly sexually abused Christmas Day in southwest Fort Worth may have known the killer, police investigators believe. Homicide Lieutenant A.M. Patterson said Friday there was no forced entry or apparent robbery motive in the death of Cheryl Springfield, 21, found nude and strangled near a Christmas tree on the living room floor of her house at 3370 Whittier. I actually left messages on both of these guys, or two of the active detectives now on their machines. We haven't had anything like this in quite a while. It's going to be somebody she knew, Patterson said. Patterson said investigators were awaiting word from the police laboratory on some undisclosed evidence submitted after the Christmas Day discovery. Leon S. Springfield, the victim's ex-husband, found the body at 6:15 a.m. Thursday. And I guess it says Springfield, 23, 4159 Carolyn. Let's see where that is. 4159 Carolyn. That's probably it. Oh yeah, that's really close, just right there. Oh, I already had that address, so that's where the husband lived. And she just lived right here. Hey, thanks, Alley Cake. An electrical cord sheared from the clothes iron was wrapped around Miss Springfield's neck when she was found. Tarrant County Medical Examiner Nizan Pirwani said Friday after an autopsy conducted by Dr. Merrick Krause that the woman died of strangulation. Pirwani said the full results of the autopsy would not be released until Monday. However, Springfield said the woman appeared to have been beaten, and police investigators said the woman may have been sexually assaulted. Patterson said it was impossible to tell if Miss Springfield struggled with her assailant because the entire house was cluttered and in disarray. Springfield said his son was in a back room sitting up in bed crying when he came to the home. Also staying at the house Christmas morning was the 18-month-old daughter of Mrs. Springfield's sister-in-law. Oh, so she just also staying at the house with... So was there 3 kids there? Or was it just 2 kids, but one of them wasn't hers? Neither child was harmed, police said. Funeral for Miss Springfield will be held at 10 a.m. Monday at Baumgartner Funeral Home. Yeah, that's crazy. Let's see. Cheryl Lynn Springfield, I've cut off somewhere, of Fort Worth, formerly of Breckenridge, was found dead at her home in Fort Worth at 6:15 a.m. Thursday by her ex-husband. Homicide investigators of Fort Worth Police Department are investigating. Initial examination of the body revealed she had been strangled, beaten, and possibly assaulted. Services will be at 10 a.m. Monday at Crowley, directed by Baumgartner Funeral Home. So it says survivors include a son, a sister, I think that's who I'm talking to, actually. Her stepfather, and various people here. All right, so let's see. Then in 2016, there's no coverage at all, at least in the newspapers.com. Maybe there's a local Fort Worth repository somewhere that has something, but I don't have it. But hey, I know we got that great start, but it'd be great to reach the goal kind of early in the show, so then it's stress-free. So if you're out there and you have the ability to help support the channel, even on the cold case nights when we're not talking about anything popular, all right, that'd be great. We started off really good, and then it just went. It's been nearly 4 decades since Cheryl Lynn Springfield was found beaten and strangled on Christmas Day 1980. Circumstances surrounding her death and unanswered questions have tormented the woman's sister, so is Jan Tunnell Webster, since that day. I stood over her casket and I put my hand over hers, and her little fingers were wrinkled, and I promised her I will find out who did this. She vowed she'd never break that promise after her only sister was murdered. Springfield was 21 years old when she was found dead inside a quaint home on Whittier Street in Fort Worth. She had her whole life ahead of her. The spunky, happy brunette had been working things out with her ex-husband, Scott. So who's this guy that came over then? Because it doesn't seem like his name was Scott. I gotta go back. I think it was in the second article. A man found his former wife. A woman who was found strangled. We haven't had anything. It says right here, Leon Springfield, the victim's ex-husband, found the body. Well, who's Leon? Who's Leon? Now I gotta ask her questions. Who's Leon, and then who's Scott? That's kind of weird. Gonna have to get that answer. All right. Yeah, we have no new channel members tonight. She's responding right now. I'm going to get the answer. My brother-in-law. Huh? Oh, okay. Leon Scott. Is that his name? Alright, anyways, she's saying something like his name is Leon Scott, but it says Leon Springfield here, which makes more sense because that's what her last name was. So I don't really know what she's saying. But they said Leon, we had a Scott and then a Leon. Two completely different names. Which is kind of interesting. Hey, thanks for gifting the membership, Michelle H. Yeah, because right here it says... circumstances surrounding her death and unanswered questions have tormented the woman's sister. Springfield was naked and bloody next to the Christmas tree. Detectives say she was strangled with a cord that was still tightly wound around her neck. Yeah, so it says right there, ex-husband Scott. Okay. But then the other one says Leon. So that's kind of confusing a little bit. I don't know. Let's see if she answered it. Leon Scott Springfield, her ex. Oh. Scott Allen Springfield, her son. Oh, okay. Alright, so his name is Leon Scott Springfield. Alright, so that makes a little bit more sense. One article called him Scott, and the other one said Leon. And right in this one, they're calling him Scott, but Leon is also, so it's Leon Scott Springfield. So maybe some people call him by his middle name. Alright. Springfield was naked and bloody next to the Christmas tree. Detectives say she was strangled with a cord that was still tightly wrapped around her neck. Springfield was naked, and then it says right here, it was brutal, and I mean it takes a lot to look into someone's eyes and watch the light go out, said Webster. A neighbor on Whittier Street told detectives they saw Springfield speaking with someone outside the home in the early morning hours that Christmas day. The witness, however, couldn't give a good description of the person. Wow. So a neighbor on Whittier Street told detectives they saw Springfield speaking with someone, okay, the woman, you know, Cheryl, speaking with someone outside the home in the early morning hours that Christmas day. The witness, however, couldn't give a good description. Fort Worth police were able to lift a partial fingerprint as well as DNA from the scene. All these years later, though, there has still been no match. Webster believes it's only a matter of time. So all you have to do is just do IgG, man. If she was assaulted and you collected semen or anything like that, It's a personal crusade Webster has been on for 36 years. I'll never give up, she said. All right. That's Jan, the sister. All right, now this is one that's new, like a really large article that was written by Deanne Boyd. Okay, I don't think I had this the last time we went over this. So this should be pretty interesting. Hey, there she is right there. Jan Webster, the legend. Yeah, it's crazy. 44 years, huh? Yep. Christmas morning murder still a mystery after 37 years. And she does have a podcast, 2 episodes, this Deanne Boyd lady. You can just type in her name, like Deanne Boyd, and then Cheryl Springfield, and it'll show up. So anyways, 37 years ago, when alone with their younger sister's body at a funeral home in Crowley, Jan Tunnell Webster made a vow. Before her 21-year-old Cheryl Tunnell Springfield lay in a light blue cloth-covered casket, the color chosen by their mom because she thought it made her youngest daughter look warm. A blue and white turtle sweater concealed the imprint left by the iron cord that had still been wrapped and knotted around Springfield's neck when she was found Christmas morning by her ex-husband. Webster can still remember how tape used to cover the incision made during her sister's autopsy was visible through her sister's sweater. Yeah, it sucks what they do to bodies when they're doing the autopsy. That was visible through her sister's sweater as she reached in and covered Springfield's hand with her own. I just remember promising her I will find who did this to you, Webster recalled, if it takes until my last dying breath. I will find out who did this. As a promise that almost 4 decades later, Webster is still working to fulfill. And let's go to A5. That's a pretty big article. A month does not go by when she does not touch bases with the Fort Worth Police Cold Case Unit. And with each new detective that comes through the unit, there is always one name she is sure to bring up: Barry Dean Kelly. The case is the subject of the Star Telegram's latest podcast series, Out of the Cold. That Christmas in 1980 had already been shaping up to be different. A few months earlier, Cheryl and Scott Springfield's divorce had been finalized. And then Cheryl Springfield had moved in with their ex-husband's younger sister, Cindy Springfield, in the house on Whittier Street that her ex-husband and Cindy Springfield had grown up in. Scott and Cindy Springfield's parents still owned the house in South Fort Worth, but had vacated it after their own breakup. I guess so, yeah, wow. It's kind of complicated, but... So Scott and Cindy are siblings. Scott was married to Cheryl. But then, I guess it's like... But Scott and Cindy's parents broke up, so Scott and Cindy were living there or something, and then I'm not sure. Maybe Cindy was just living there, and Scott and Cheryl lived in a different house. And after their divorce, maybe Cheryl moved in with Cindy into this house. That kind of makes sense. I don't know if that's really what it was, but that's what it seems to make some sense. Because it would be their toddler son's first Christmas without his parents together, the couple had made plans for Scott to come over about 6 a.m. Christmas morning. That way he'd be there when 2-year-old Scott Allen awoke. So, you know, his name, like Scott, same name as the dad, awoke and could watch the boy open gifts. So if he got there at 6 a.m., you know, kids on Christmas, they get up at the crack of dawn, like if you watch the show Christmas Story, or I guess the movie, you know, they get up right away. I mean, we all did that. So he wanted to make sure he was there at 6 a.m. They had finalized their plans in a brief phone call shortly after midnight on Christmas morning. Okay, so that they got divorced, and then she lived with your mom, right? Right. Okay. But come on, you guys, we're dead as a doornail again in here. So let's get the support up here. Get the, if you can, get the coffees. You know, try to reach the goal tonight. Had a good start, and now it's dead as a doornail. Not untypical of a when we do the cold cases. Let's see. Hours later, let's see. It says right here, because it would be the toddler's first Christmas without the parents together, the couple had made plans for Scott to come over at 6 a.m. Christmas morning. That way, he'd be there when 2-year-old Scott Allen awoke and could watch the boy open gifts. They had finalized their plans in a brief phone call shortly after midnight on Christmas morning. Hours later, luggage, a big wheel he'd bought for his son, Scott walked the roughly 5 blocks to his ex-wife's, and we just saw that. He lived right there. So, I mean, let's see how far that is. It's probably not even a half mile. Well, it's a half mile as a crow flies. I walked the 5 blocks to his ex-wife's. He had a key. It was his parents' house, after all, and turned it in the lock. So he put the key in, turned in the lock. He can't be sure if the door was even locked when he turned the key. Opening the door, Scott heard cries from his son carrying down the hallway, or I guess, so he heard the cries from down the hallway from the room he shared with his mother. In the home, cluttered living room, he saw what appeared to be a naked, sleeping woman feet from the Christmas tree. Who's the drunk girl laying on the floor? He says he wondered. He assumed it was one of the 2 teen girls who had recently moved in with his sister and Cheryl. He walked on down the hallway, where he found little Scott Allen sitting up, crying in bed, but no sign of his ex-wife. His gut told him something was wrong. He returned to the living room and confirmed what he feared was true. It was Cheryl lying in the living room, and there was a reason she hadn't responded to their young son's cries. I got close enough to her to realize there was something wrapped around her throat. I know, I touched it. And then I thought, don't touch nothing, Scott Springfield said. Yeah, so then that would mean his DNA would be on the cord, you know. But, you know, he brought a woman over there. The kids were crying. I mean, he isn't the guy, okay? He was kind of obnoxious. Detectives would investigate a number of potential suspects, taking a special interest in Kelly, a former boyfriend. So I guess they're saying he was a former boyfriend of Kelly, of Cindy Springfield, Scott's sister. So the roommate of Cheryl, this guy named Kelly, was dating at one point. So Cindy is the sister of Cheryl's ex-husband, Scott. That makes sense? So there's this guy with the last name of Kelly who dated Cindy Springfield at one point. Yeah, just get rid of that Kevin Tagliatella guy. You can tell he's a troll just the way that first comment out of his mouth. Never made another comment before. Just get rid of that person. Thank you. Yeah, if you walk into a house and you hear your son crying, you're going there first. You're not looking over at a Christmas tree. Yeah. You don't need to respond to people like that, Jan. They're nut jobs. Kelly had been released from prison 5 months earlier for a string of burglaries. Since his release, he'd started calling Cindy again, who was now living with Cheryl, her former sister-in-law. I can't remember them ever meeting, Cindy said in a recent interview. They just didn't get along at all over the phone, so I guess they talked on the phone. He was kind of obnoxious. If I wasn't there, he'd keep calling. After Cheryl's murder, Scott was among those who began to wonder if Kelly would be involved. Have you ever met somebody you don't know? There's nothing good about them, Scott asked. There's nothing... Let's see. No, wait. Excuse me. I didn't read that right. Have you ever met somebody you just know there's nothing good about them? There's nothing honest about them. If you have anything to do with him, it's not going to turn out good. That's just what I got from him. Cindy didn't believe it. After all, Kelly would never hurt someone who meant so much to her. My mind was, Barry wouldn't do this to me, Cindy said. He just wouldn't. Let's see. Through the years, police investigated Kelly. There were things done attempting to either include or exclude Kelly being a suspect in the offense, said Jeremy Roden. It seems like they would have been easily been able to compare the DNA 1-to-1 to him at this point, you know, because they would just do a simple comparison. There were things done attempting to either include or exclude Kelly being a suspect in the offense, said Jeremy Roden, a homicide detective. Everything that's been done thus far doesn't do that, doesn't include or exclude Kelly. A month after Cheryl's death, however, Kelly would be jailed for a bizarre crime spree. Old Star Telegram clips tell the tale of how Kelly broke into a North Richland Hills home, stole 3 purses, and kidnapped at knife point a 21-year-old Indianapolis woman who had been visiting relatives at the home. See, then it starts going, that's a little weird at that point, isn't it? Thanks, Allie Cake. All right. Thought the super chat button was broken. It just anyways, what do we got here? In the backyard of a house down okay, Old Star Telegram clips tell the tale of how Kelly broke into a North Richland Hills home. This must be Scott. So that's the Scott and Cheryl, and this is the Barry Dean Kelly at the time, you know, like 1987, and this is him later in prison. Old Star Telegram clips tell the tale of how Kelly broke into North Richland Hills home, stole 3 purses, and kidnapped at knife point a 21-year-old Indianapolis woman who had been visiting relatives at the home. In the backyard of a house down the street, Kelly pushed the woman down but ended up running off after being spooked by the woman's screams. Okay. So why does it start off the sentence with in the backyard of the house? Is this a different person? Old Telegram clips, Star Telegram clips tell the tale of how Kelly broke into a North Richland Hills home, stole 3 purses, and kidnapped at knife point a 21-year-old Indianapolis woman who had been visiting relatives at the home. In the backyard of a house down the street, Kelly pushed the woman down. Okay, so he took her down the street, pushed her down. So after he kidnapped her, he went in the backyard of a different person's home and then pushed her down, but ended up running off after being spooked by the woman's screams and a car motor in the distance. He was arrested 2 days later, but escaped during questioning after grabbing an ashtray from a table and smashing it into the head of a detective. 2 days after that, he'd be arrested again, this time in Cedar Hill, where he was involved in a wreck on a motorcycle that he allegedly stolen. Kelly would go away to prison again after being paroled in November 1986. Cindy was among the first people he would find. So that's Scott's sister and Cheryl's roommate at the time. He goes and finds. So 6 years after the death of Cheryl, and he was in prison, I guess, he gets out and he gets a hold of Cindy. In February of 1987, the two would marry so they actually got married. So Cindy actually ended up marrying this Scott guy. That's crazy. Jesus. In February of 1987, the two would marry, a marriage that dissolved after 10 months. Cindy says Kelly never hit her, but his behavior was always just a little scary. Yeah, but you thought maybe he had something to do with Cheryl's death, but then you end up marrying him later? After he did something kind of similarly to other people, and that's why he was put in prison? I don't know, man. That's pretty crazy. Cindy says Kelly... Is anybody here, you guys? I mean, Allie Cake sent that super chat in, and then after that there's been one, like maybe, I don't know, 10 comments. Looks like it just updated. Let me see. Maybe I'm on the wrong live chat. Okay, there we go. There's some people. Yeah, I had it on the live chat thing. That's just stupid. In February 1987, the two would marry, a marriage that dissolved after 10 months. Cindy says Kelly never hit her, but his behavior was always just a little scary. There was a time, she says, he tattooed his initials BK on her hand, a sort of branding she didn't want. There was nothing I could do about it, Cindy said. It was at gunpoint. The gun was right there. The final straw, she says. I guess, what does BK stand for? Oh, Barry Kelly. Yeah. I don't know why that didn't pop right in the head there, but yeah, Barry Kelly. There's nothing I could do about it, Cindy said. It was at gunpoint. The final straw, she says, is when he gave her hepatitis. She left him, but says he kept trying to see her. I know, I said that. I got the answer. She left him about, says he kept trying to see her, eventually kidnapping her outside a store. Wow. So let's see. The final straw, she says, is when he gave her hepatitis. She left him, but he kept trying to see her, eventually kidnapping her outside a store on Seminary Drive in October of 1987 and terrorizing her for hours. Police would arrest Kelly the next day and charge him with aggravated kidnapping. So maybe that's the one. I found something that sounded sort of like that. Let's see if this is it. Yeah, so he did that in October. That's so crazy. So that's October 5th, and that same month, just a little after that, he killed a lady. The same person, this Barry Kelly. Okay. 63-year-old woman murdered. See, here it is right here. So I guess he abducts Cindy in October of 1987. Police would arrest Kelly the next day and charge him with aggravated kidnapping. And then 63-year-old woman murdered. Maybe she was murdered first. Then he kidnapped her. He'd still be in jail when Fort Worth police would accuse him in a different crime, the murder of a 63-year-old widow named Melva Teems, with Teems. Teems was last seen on the evening of October 5th, 1987, at the Northwest Fort Worth home she shared with her daughter, Mary Copeland. Copeland was headed out that evening to a lounge. Teems, who was going on a church trip the next day, was preparing to take her routine evening walk when Copeland returned to the home in the 2000 block of Castleberry Cutoff Road shortly after midnight. Her mother and her mother's pickup were gone. So when Copeland returned to the home in the 2000 block of Castleberry Cutoff Road, let's see where that is. Thanks, Jim Lon.
What the hell is a gigawatt?
So I guess it's just right over there. Yeah, it's across town, really. Copeland was headed out that evening. So the daughter. Teems was last seen on the evening of October 5th at the Northwest Fort Worth home she shared with her daughter, Mary Copeland. Copeland was headed out that evening to a lounge. Teems was going on a church trip the next day, was preparing to take her routine evening walk. When Copeland returned to the home in the 2000 block of Castleberry Cutoff Road shortly after midnight, her mother and her mother's pickup were gone. Inside the normally tidy house, things were askew. Teems' bed was messy. The mattress pushed off center. A drawer, which usually held Teems' .22 caliber handgun, was open and the gun was gone. Teems' purse, where she usually kept her wedding rings, was also missing. Teems' pickup would later be found behind the old Panther Hall on the city's east side. A week and a half later, on October 17, 1987, Fort Worth officers found Teems' body near a dry creek bed off a dirt road. Here, let me put this. So she lived. This is where Teems sort of lived, in this area here. Found Teems' body near a dry creek bed off of a dirt road northwest of Interstate 35 West. Let's see. I-35 West and North Loop 820. No. Okay, that's here. And then northwest of Interstate 35 West and North Loop 820. Okay. So there's 820, and then does it keep going around? Does 820 just keep looping around like this? Because that's the only way that would make sense. Because 35 west is over here. So, and it goes straight up. So it must be 820 goes in here. And then it'd be northwest. So, you know, somewhere around in this area, right? Like her body's found. Yeah, so somewhere right around in there. Which is weird because look how close that is to, you know, where Springfield lived. It's right there. You know, so this took place way over here, but then they get on and then he gets back to an area where he's more comfortable with, you know, maybe, right? I mean, because look how close that is to Scott and Cindy and Cheryl's location. Right? Hold on, I didn't do that right. Cheryl, I guess Cindy's last name is Springfield too, right? Guess we can do that. Thanks, Jessica Schubach. Yeah, I mean, we don't know if he's related to Cheryl, but he does seem kind of interesting, doesn't he? A strip of material evidently ripped from her own t-shirt was still knotted around her neck. It was the same kind of knot that had been tied in the iron cord used to strangle Springfield almost 7 years earlier. But Jan was saying it's not an unusual knot, so it could just be a typical knot, you know, that somebody ties. As with Cheryl's case, Kelly had a connection to Teems. He had met and began dating Copeland in December of 1986. Wow. Though their relationship ended that next February when Kelly married Cindy. So he was double dating, you know, seeing two people. Copeland would later testify that Kelly had begun calling her again that summer. So Copeland would later testify that Kelly had begun calling her again later that summer. She'd even even after, I guess maybe after he married Cindy, then he started calling Copeland again. She'd even introduced him to her mother, who lent Kelly money to buy gas and get his car radiator fixed. Jeez, that's ridiculous. Hey, thanks, Cat D. Multiple sex workers familiar with Kelly told police they'd seen him driving a truck later identified as Teems' pickup around the time of the woman's disappearance. One said Kelly showed her some rings he claims to have gotten from an old lady and remarked that the truck would soon be hot. A tire shop owner would also tell investigators that Kelly had told him a set of wedding rings, later identified as Teems, I guess he sold those for $450 in cash. But the strongest link would come after police sought to have Kelly's DNA compared to that from a semen stain found on Teems' bedspread. So this is back in 1987, so this is like one of the, you know, absolutely first cases out there. It's interesting too because, you know, Fort Worth used DNA back then, but that seems like they're really slow to use it continually. Like they used it back then, but now they're not using it. I mean, have they ever compared this? It seems strange that they wouldn't have compared any DNA samples they have to this Barry Kelly guy. You know, seems like they would have easily have already compared that. Let's see, it would be the first time in Tarrant County that investigators had used DNA in a criminal investigation. He was definitely a suspect. We just didn't have enough to make a murder case on him until the DNA came through, which back then was kind of a miracle. It's kind of a miracle for us, said Sergeant Paul Kratz, then supervisor of the homicide unit. It was like, wow, the first case with DNA. It was pretty awesome. In a 1988 trial, Kelly was found guilty of Teems' murder and sentenced to life in prison. In the years since the trial, Cindy says so Cindy, the roommate and sister of, I mean, Cindy's like, it's crazy. So Cindy, is the roommate of Cheryl. She's the sister of Cheryl's ex-husband, and she ended up marrying this Barry Kelly nutjob. I wonder if Cindy knows, Cindy might know a little bit more. I wonder if there was times over the years where he said something. But, I mean, why not say something, I guess. I brought him into our lives, she explained. So in the years since the trial, Cindy says she came to grips with the possibility that Kelly might have killed her former sister-in-law, too. It is a realization, she says, that brings with it tremendous guilt. I brought him into our lives, she explained. So, I mean, when you listen to that, it sounds like she's feeling guilty, but wow, how crazy is that, I never knew or met Cheryl. Earlier this year, Kelly reached out to... Kelly reached out? Reached out to the Fort Worth police from prison, claiming he had information that could solve, Cheryl's murder. Roden and Detective J.W. Galloway went to see him, but came back empty-handed. It quickly became obvious that he was trying to elicit things. I think he was trying to figure out what they knew. That's it. Went to see him. It quickly became obvious that he was trying to elicit things that he wanted from the prison system, Roden said. He wanted to live in a certain place and do certain things, and he was trying to offer up information to get those things that he desired, and wound up telling me nothing. Star-Telegram has reached out to Kelly, who is now being held in the Montford unit in Lubbock. He has written back twice, even sending a Christmas card. He vehemently denies killing Teems. I mean, it's interesting, but wouldn't they have compared any DNA samples they have with Teems and just immediately arrest the guy? I mean, or not arrest him, but charge him with more crimes. So that's one of the things where it seems like he's the guy because he's a psycho. But is he really? They already have his DNA, and I would think the most obvious thing in the world to do would be to compare it with any DNA samples they might already have, and hair samples. Wouldn't you? Yeah, but you never know, right? He vehemently denies killing Teems. He writes he wouldn't share information with police about Cheryl Springfield's case because of what he calls their threatening behavior towards him. Would you trust and talk to anyone whose behavior reveals they mean you no good? He wrote, truth be, I want the truth to come out in both Melva Teems and Cheryl's case, but Melva Teems is a more personal issue because I knew her, whereas I never knew or met Cheryl. Well, apparently he talked on the phone with her, according to Cindy, and yet he still did not reveal what he claims to know. He calls family members suspicious, or he calls family members' suspicions that he killed Cheryl nonsense. If he would have killed anyone, he writes, it would have been Cindy, his ex-wife. Well, maybe he killed Hell, how do we know that you didn't think, maybe it was dark and you thought it was her originally, and then you killed her because then you knew you were in trouble. You know, you went in there and you thought maybe Cindy was in the house. I don't know if they look similar at all or anything like that, but wasn't it 3 days after the murder of Miss Teems that I kidnapped my wife? Wasn't it 3 days after the murder of Miss Teems that I kidnapped my wife, he writes. Therefore, if I was capable of murder, you can bet I would have murdered my ex-wife as well. So why didn't I? Isn't she the one that yelled? Kelly's denials do nothing to change Webster's mind. Of course, he's going to deny it, she says. He's gotten away with it for 37 years. I'm not surprised by his response. Most murderers won't admit their crime, Webster said. I could say I did not have a cheeseburger last night, but I know I did. So she'll keep calling cold case detectives, and she'll keep bringing up Kelly's name because I won't let it go. I won't. I can't, Webster says. I promised her. Well, there you go. I mean, could be him, I mean, doesn't it just seem like odds-wise, coincidentally-wise? I mean, you've got Cindy, who there's this guy that she was dating who ends up killing other people kind of similarly, in a sexual manner. And so the odds are that it would be this guy. However, how come do they have no DNA from Cheryl's case? I mean, it feels like they would have DNA, and if they do, then it should be a simple thing. You just compare it. Yeah. I don't know why they don't. I mean, I went and found all these different things on him, like police believe body is missing woman. So this is like a body found Saturday in a wooded area of Fort Worth apparently is that of 63-year-old woman reported missing October 5th. Homicide Sergeant Paul Kratz said investigators believe that the decomposed body is that of Melva Mickey Teems of the 2000 block of Castleberry Cutoff Road. Family members made a preliminary identification of the body. The body was found about 4 p.m. Saturday in a ravine near 3000 block of Western Center Boulevard. Let's see how close I got to that. So 3000 Western Center Boulevard. I bet it's pretty close. No, they got it on the other side, but that can't be. Well, it's Western Center Boulevard. They said it was near this side. Or maybe that is. Maybe it does loop around. Hold on, let me see. Maybe that's what it does. What was it? What was that called again? Yeah, 820. 820. Oh, there you go. It goes around this side. So I had the wrong side. So there you go, right there. Interesting. Now let me just get that other one. It's kind of like we have a 405 or something like that. Just does you can keep looping around. So somewhere around in this area. All right, guys. But here we are. We're doing a show tonight, and we're trying to reach goals on a nightly basis. We're not doing too bad. We only have one new channel member, for example. And if you guys are out there and you can help support the channel, we're getting close to the end of the month here. This is the 26th, and we've got 4 or 5 more days left. And it'd be great to continue on. So if you have the ability to, if you could please help support the channel, do the coffee thing or the super chats, whatever works best for you. I would appreciate it. We do have a coffee from Linda Howe. Last 2 nights we did $1,000 of donations to different charities. The last couple nights at a loss for the channel. So now I'm trying to have a normal night that we normally have that allows us to do stuff like that. All right. So the body was found at 4 p.m. Saturday in a ravine near the 3000 block of Western Center Boulevard. Teems pickup was found abandoned in a wooded area off East Lancaster Street. Let's see where that is. Lancaster Avenue. Yeah, so maybe that was over. That's getting down on that side of town. So that wasn't as close as I was thinking earlier. So this is East Lancaster Avenue. $3,000 block of Western Center Boulevard in far north Fort Worth. Teems pickup was found abandoned in a wooded area off East Lancaster Street the day after she disappeared. She was reported missing by a 41-year-old daughter who lives with her, police said. Investigators suspect foul play in the woman's disappearance, but have no suspects or leads in the case, Kratz said. When the daughter found her mother missing, a number of items in the house were disturbed or missing, police said. Investigators declined to elaborate on that. All right. So you got that. Then we move on to, let's see what these other ones are. Dental records confirmed that it was Teems. She'd been missing since October 5th. Then we've got a woman's body will be exhumed. Fort Worth police were preparing this morning to exhume the body of Melva Mickey Teems in order to take blood samples. They wanted to get her DNA to match it with a suspect that they had at the time. And so that's them actually exhuming, taking the casket out of the ground, body taken from grave for testing. The grave of Melva Mickey Teems, 63, was opened by Fort Worth police yesterday to remove tissue sample for an advanced genetic test to connect a suspect to her strangulation. The woman's casket was lifted from the ground at Greenwood Memorial Park shortly after noon. Investigators want to take tissue samples from the strangled woman for use in an advanced test that provides a blood fingerprint, meaning a DNA. We think that if these tests come out right, we can link them to a particular suspect, he said. The test was developed several years ago in Great Britain and it provided a genetic profile based on samples of blood, matter, or fluids such as hair, saliva, semen, skin, or blood. I mean, so this is so early in that. It's crazy. 1987. And then, let's see, felon arrested in slaying is based on genetic tests. So here we go. That's when police arrested 28-year-old Barry, I think it's, Gene Kelly, after results were obtained from laboratory tests. They're saying it's a match. Their laboratory is calling this a match. The sample we collected in her house and samples we had taken from the suspects with a search warrant, Kratz said. So it matches. They said something like 1 in 17 million or something. Back then they didn't have the same statistical capabilities as they do now. Rare test brings arrest in Fort Worth rape murder. A man police had suspected for months in the sexual assault and strangulation killing of an elderly woman, was charged with capital murder after a rare forensic test produced genetic fingerprint. And then we've got parolee is indicted. So this is another one here. A 5-time convicted felon was indicted yesterday by a Tarrant County grand jury in connection with the October 9th kidnapping and assault of a 25-year-old woman. The 3-count indictment accuses Barry Dean Kelly, 28, of using a knife to terrorize and threaten the woman. Kelly, who was paroled 2 weeks before the aggravated kidnapping, has been held without bond in the Tarrant County Jail since October 10th. The woman told police that she was abducted at knife point from a dime store on West Seminary Drive, taken to a wooded area off Jacksonboro Highway, and assaulted. Kelly also was charged with murder last month in connection with the death of Melva Mickey Teems. So doesn't this guy just seem like the right guy, though? Yeah. Who denies killing Teems? Doesn't make any sense. Teems is the killer. Fluid at scene of slaying linked to suspect by experts. This is during the trial. And then slaying suspect sold rings he used. Sold rings and used tire dealer testifies. So, it's like he's selling rings, etc. of Teems. Never mind. My brain wasn't functioning right there. Barry Kelly denies. Of course he did. He killed it. I mean, it's so obvious, it's almost unbelievable. Man convicted in murder trial using DNA test. Barry Dean Kelly, the first person to be tried in Tarrant County using genetic tests as evidence, was convicted late Wednesday of the 1980 slaying of Melva Teems. Yeah, there was something, I guess in here it kind of does the breakdown of, I don't really want to go through that though, but anyways, it's pretty interesting. So I left them messages, the 2 detectives that are out there, and I said, hey, we'll pay for the whole thing, just, you just tell us where to do it, to send, where, you just send it to Identifinders. Identifinders International is what we use with Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick, the founder of IGG. So, hopefully they take us up on that. It'd be pretty cool. Yeah, it's kind of demoralizing when I say, hey everybody, if you could help support the channel, and it just goes, nothing. I'm trying to keep the goals going throughout the month so that we can do as good as I can at the end of the month. I have a certain number that I have to reach just for the channel's income, and then after that, that's when I can start giving away. So I don't know what else to tell you guys. I can't make it grow on trees. It just is what it is. There is no this last article I just read makes it so that this can't be monetized after the show's over, because all the words that were used in those articles are ones you can't say for some reason. Let's see. I'm sure who knows, Gen Exodus. Man, you're just typing in all these different random comments that are... Let's see. We want to keep doing amazing things. Yeah, well, it's hard to do. It's hard to do. I mean, the thing is, like, when I say we're going to pay for your genetic genealogy, that's because of, we got the ad revenue, we got the super chats, we got the channel memberships, and that's what allows us to do that. Right. Well, you didn't have to do that, Jan Webster. Jeez. she got 5 memberships though, so thank you. But I was really, I'm talking to everybody else. It seems like when we do the cold cases, the normal freaks that support the channel seem to not do it during those nights. Not sure why, but it's an observable phenomenon, and we got to still be able to cover them all and have it be the same. Sylvie Peters, Kior, Missy RN, and Wiyaka Ottawin, and Mr. Coliseum. So anyways, I have messages left on both of those guys' machines, and if they want to, hopefully they call back. Alright? That'd be cool. If they don't, they don't. But thanks, Jan, I appreciate that. So I've got these other ones in here too. I don't really have any more. I think to me it's like it's either that guy or it's not, but you got to test whatever DNA you have that you consider to be left there by the killer and get moving on it. Not sure what's taking so long. Yeah, the pups are good. Yeah, I mean, do the detectives respond to you at all, Jan? Well, I've thought about the story. I bring it up sometimes, Jan, on the show. A lot of times I'll just say, remember that one case that was in Fort Worth, and it was on Christmas Day, and she was found by the tree, Because I remember I tried to get Misty Gillis to contact the right people over there. I'm not sure what I can't remember what the reply was, if there was one. Yeah, I don't have to do any cases that I do, but I just want to do whatever I want to do. And today I wanted to do that one. But we got some other ones here. Yep. All right, so some of these other ones are really short, with almost nothing in them. Like this guy right here, Craig Andrew Copperthite. Have you ever even heard of that before? Copperthite, like Copperthite. Yeah, well, I think she has. I mean, I left them a message. All I'm going to do is pay. I don't, because it's expensive. And a lot of these towns, they spend their money on something else. But why not get the ball rolling? Yeah, so he was... I guess I don't have the picture of him. But look at this kind of a weird story here. It's bound man found dead. This took me a while to find this article. This is before they knew what his name was. Authorities Thursday. This is in Bromide, Oklahoma. Authorities Thursday were trying to learn the identity of a young man who was bound with ropes and slain, apparently execution style, and dumped in a rugged Cole County area. The body was discovered by a farmer at about 12:15 p.m. Wednesday along a gravel road, said Sheriff Frank Heck. The body had possible bullet wounds in the head, Heck said. The body was taken to the state medical examiner's office in Oklahoma for autopsy. The body appeared to be that of a man in his late teens or early 20s with collar-length hair, the sheriff said. The victim was wearing green corduroy trousers and jacket, a green shirt, and low-heeled boots, the sheriff said. The body bore no identification, Heck said. He was tied up, hands, feet, neck, and all. It looks like he was killed somewhere else. Probably, it sounds like he was like hog-tied. Somewhere else and dumped here last night during the rain, Heck said. The man apparently had been dead for about 2 days, the sheriff said. Hey, maybe Jan, maybe you and Scott can come on sometime and talk about it. Would you guys ever be able to do that? And maybe you can try to get Cindy to come on. Maybe Scott can get Cindy to come on so we can get all three of you up. What about that? I think that would be an interesting thing. It'd be a helpful. What do you think, Jan? What do you think about that? Not sure if you're still here or not, but. Hello? Come on. How far are you guys behind what I'm talking about? We know, Jexa. We saw that, but she was, how quickly you leave after you say you gotta go? Like you click the button? Okay, not a chance in hell for Cindy. Why not? She did these interviews back then, Jan. Why wouldn't she come on? Man, she doesn't have to have her face on there. She could just use her voice. But she did these interviews a long time ago. See, Gen Exodus, you're not correct, as usual. On a nightly basis. I don't even know who you are. So we're gonna have to, what we're gonna have to do is put you on timeout. Let's see. Yeah, maybe for like 10 minutes or so. Maybe come back another time. So not a chance, huh? Why do you think? So the son that's mentioned in the, Cheryl's son, your nephew, he died somehow. What happened there? Yeah, that's a nightmare. Was it just kind of like a car accident or something, or? She refused the last one we asked. Okay, I just asked a different question though. All right, let me get back to this. We're so far behind. I'll just message you on Facebook or something. I don't know what yes hep C means. Well, hepatitis? Is that what they died from? His wife and kid died of hepatitis? Wow. I think that's what you're saying. Ah, man. The delay is killing me. Anyways, this guy here, Craig Andrew Copperthite. That right now we're just saying there's a bound man here. Sheriff's office were joined by Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation in probing the death, Heck said. Authorities said there has been no report of missing persons in the county matching the victim's description, which prompts them to believe the victim may have been hauled here from outside the country, or the county. We hope to get some kind of break tomorrow when maybe we'll get a better idea about the age and other details to help us get an ID. This is 1978, this one. Let me go to the next one. Well, did they get that? Did they get the hepatitis from that Kelly guy? I mean, man's body identified. Authorities have been matching fingerprints taken from the bound body of a young man found near Bromide with those of a 19-year-old Arlington, Virginia man. So this is all the way in Oklahoma, missing since mid-November. Cole County Sheriff Frank Heck said the dead man was identified as Craig Andrew Copperthite, who had apparently been hitchhiking through the state. The sheriff quoted Copperthite's father as saying the young man had left home alone in the middle of November. The FBI matched the prints on the body with those taken from Copperthite when he was arrested on a marijuana possession charge, Heck said. Dick Reed, an investigator for the state medical examiner's office, said Copperthite had been beaten and that he probably died of asphyxiation. Reed explained that the way Copperthite was tied up probably made it impossible for him to breathe. Yeah. And like that's him right there, that picture. It just says Craig Copperthite was found murdered in Bromide, Oklahoma on December 20th, 1978. He was 19 years old. Craig wasn't from Oklahoma. He'd been missing from Arlington, Virginia. That almost sounds like a serial killer type, you know? Like he's hitchhiking. That's kind of what they used to do instead of sex workers. Because people would just willingly get into your car. But it might have been maybe somebody stole something too. I don't know. But family said that Craig was a drifter and they didn't know how he made it to Oklahoma. But they generally believed he was hitchhiking at the time. Craig's body was found on the side of the road. He'd been severely beaten and the cause of death was due to asphyxiation. He'd been tied up and that is what caused his death. Craig was born in Arlington, Virginia, November 27, 1959. He had previously joined the Navy for a short time. His body was identified through fingerprints, which were on file from a recent cannabis charge. If you have any information, call the OSBI at 800-522-8017 with any information on the murder of young Craig Andrew Copperthite. That's it. That's all they got. I couldn't find a damn thing else other than that. All right, here's another one that almost has less than that one. And there might be other papers out there. They're just not in the repositories that I have. But man, what do I have to do tonight? I quit. I gave up on dancing a jig. You know. Susanna Thatcher, unsolved homicide victim, December 8, 1978, Dundalk, Maryland. Maybe that's the problem. It's in some small little. And I guess all I could find were like this thing here. Baltimore County government says on December 8, 1978 at approximately 4:20 a.m. Baltimore County Police received a call for a found body in the area of Norris Lane. Let's see where that is. I'm just going to put it in here. Yeah, I don't know, man. Don't worry about it, Linda. It's just, you know, who knows what the deal is tonight. Some nights are different, you know. No idea what the rhyme or reason, you know. I thought, wow, this is going to be such a great night when it started, and it just collapsed. I guess I shouldn't have those thoughts. All right, Susan Thatcher. So she was... body was found Norris Lane. This is in Maryland. So Norris Lane and Trap Road 2122. Yeah, I guess it in the area, that's the address. So I guess we just type in Norris Lane and Trap Road. So that's Trap Road. And where's Norris Lane? Oh, Lane. There we go. Right here. Found area near here. So probably, you know, maybe like right there in those woods, something like that. Yeah, I mean, there's so many cases that aren't solved out there. Thousands and thousands and I mean, like tens of thousands. So Allie Cake's trying to go for a wave, you guys. All right. So don't let Allie Cake hang there. All right. So back to this. Police arrived and found that the body of an unidentified female at that location. She was pronounced deceased at the scene, and it was discovered that she'd been strangled. On December 9, 1978, detectives were able to positively identify the female as 52-year-old Susanna Thatcher. She had been reported missing by her daughter on the evening of December 8, 1978. She was last seen by a family member in the area of Eastern and Dundalk Avenues in the evening. So let's see where that is. Eastern and Dundalk Avenue. Oh, did I already? Wow, why is that there? What the hell is that? Hold on a second. What case is this one? Hans Eugene Mitchell. Holy shit. Is that another? That's a different Hans Eugene Mitchell. Hans lived. Dundalk. Willoughby Beach Road. So what is this? This is when I always get sort of interested sometimes when there's some other, because we do a lot of these cases then another name pops up. Alright, so Amber Maiden, Allie Cake. Come on, you guys. We're still, gosh, I don't know, $60 short. If we get that 60 and I'll donate the 5 memberships though. Alright, let's see. Who is this guy? Hans Eugene Mitchell. Hans Eugene Mitchell. Is it a murder or what's the deal with this guy? I don't remember this one. He was found he was found. Well, that's interesting. So Hans Eugene Mitchell, 33. 2103 Edmond Avenue. Let's go there. Erdman Avenue. So he lived, I think I probably have that, right? Yeah. So that's where Hans Eugene Mitchell, this is 1975, so it isn't that long from that time frame. And then, what's this address here? Mr. Mitchell was born in Punxsutawney on December 20th, 1941. Mr. Mitchell was a graduate. He died unexpectedly on September 22nd. Shoot. God, now I gotta... It's kind of interesting, because maybe this is connected somehow. I mean, right in the same area. Hans Eugene Mitchell. This is in Maryland. All right, you guys want me to look that up? Try to figure out what... I can't remember that one. Thanks, Vicky White. You'll have to explain to me what you were saying earlier. I had no idea. Hans Eugene Mitchell, Maryland, 1975. All right, what is this? Murdered teacher's body found. Okay, I sort of remember this now. Maryland State Police at Benson have identified the body of a murdered man who was found partially buried in a... This is sort of new, I remember that. In a shallow grave Saturday afternoon at a densely wooded area off Willoughby Beach Road, approximately 1/4 mile southwest of Flying Point Road in Edgewood. The corpse was discovered Saturday by 3 White Marsh hunters who noticed portions of the man's body sticking out of the dirt approximately 200 feet off the Edgewood Road. Criminal investigator Norman Cochran, who is heading the probe into the homicide, reports the victim has been identified as Hans Eugene Mitchell, 32, of Erdman Avenue in Baltimore. Mr. Mitchell, who was at first a first-year teacher at Dundalk Senior High School, had been reported missing to the Baltimore City Police Department by friends on September 26th. Thank you, Jessica Schubach. Yeah, this wasn't that long ago when we did this one, right? Kind of sounds familiar. New school. Yes, this is where hunters discovered the body of Baltimorean Hans Mitchell buried in a shallow grave. All right. So let me open up. Is it this one? Yeah, so on December 9th, 1970, detectives were able to positively identify the female's 52-year-old Susanna Thatcher. And so she was found, though, Norris Lane and Trapp Road. She was pronounced deceased at the scene. On December 9th, 1978, detectives were able to positively identify her. She was last seen by family members in the area of Eastern and Dundalk Avenue. So let's see that. That's what we were at. God, this is crazy. It's weird when there's a pin in the same area like that. Eastern Avenue. So she was last seen. Okay, this is Eastern. So Eastern goes like that. And then where is Dundalk Avenue? Alright, so that goes up like this. Dundalk. And here's Eastern. So she was last seen here. I don't know what she was doing there. I don't know if she's a... I mean, I don't know. She doesn't seem like she's a sex worker or anything like that. So she was last seen there, but then her body was found over here. And then you have this other body, 1975, 3 years prior to that. Just such a random place to have a pin. Another pin, don't you guys think? Pretty weird. Avenue at the evening of December 7, 1978. Susanna Thatcher telephoned a friend just a few hours before she was found deceased. She had indicated to the friend that she was going to travel to their apartment in Mount Washington area of Baltimore City. Susanna Thatcher was not driving that night, and it was unknown how she may have been attempting to travel. Anyone with information regarding this case may be eligible for a cash reward of up to $2,000. But I found this interesting. So this is in Maryland. I think her name is very unusual. Okay? So it's Susanna, S-U-S-A-N-A, right? Like that's not really, nobody spells it that way. And then Thatcher isn't incredibly common, right? So there's like one of those. I mean, I bet you, let me see what happens if you go to Ben Verified and then type in Susanna Thatcher. I mean, I can't, if there's like 10 of those, I'd be shocked. Yeah, I guess there's a few, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 total, okay? So, I know what the one is. It's the one that's 98 years old in Baltimore, Maryland. I guess she was 52 in 1978. I think if you do the math there, I think that makes sense. Yeah, definitely. And there's even a picture of her. I think that's her. And let's see where they have for a. Oh, they don't have any residence or anything, but see that right there, Susanna Thatcher, deceased, age 52. There it is. December 1978 in Baltimore, Maryland. All right. So there's no address associated with that. Just a few hours before, Susanna Thatcher was not driving that night, and it was unknown how she may have been attempting to travel. Crazy. Let's see. Yeah, but it's just, I think it's just so weird that there's this other guy in 1975 that was right, in this general area. He lived here, and then his body's found right there. It just 3 years apart, kind of a totally random place. I don't know, maybe there's a person there doing this. Just randomly picked a couple different people. She was strangled, right? Yeah, she'd been strangled. This guy, though, had been beaten. That's right, he was a teacher. There was something unusual about his case, too. You remember that one? Yeah, they're both unsolved, yeah. Should I look at this Hans one again, you guys? I'm going to take a look at that again. I know I started to a minute ago. I just want to... I don't think it's a very long one either. That's not what I wanted. I wanted newspapers. Hans from Die Hard. Here we go. Did I spell that wrong? Hans. Let me just do. Oh, I spelled this E-U-G-E. There you go. Spelled that wrong. All right. So this is. Let's get the. This is November 1975. And then once you get the specific month, you can go in here, and then it's like, okay, 13th. He's mentioned. Okay, that's that picture. Investigator Cochran said phone calls from friends of the victim and a relative who had heard about the unidentified body on the radio and from newspaper reports led police to making the identification. So let me go up here again. And it was discovered Saturday by 3 White Marsh hunters who noticed portions of the man's body sticking out of the dirt approximately 200 feet off of Edgewood Road. It was the 6th Hartford County murder case this year. Let's see. Edgewood Road. Ah, jeez. He said Benson had identified the body of a murdered man who was found partially buried 1/4 mile southwest of Flying Point Road. Let's see where that is. Flying Point Road. Okay. Alright, yeah, I remember this was kind of weird. She was buried in a shallow grave Saturday afternoon in a densely wooded area off Willoughby Beach Road. Approximately, I think we got this dialed in that night when we did this. Yeah, it's right here. So his body was found right inside of there. Right there. And then, I think he may have lived here or worked at this place on September 23rd, 1975. The corpse was discovered Saturday by 3 White Marsh hunters who noticed portions of the man's body sticking out. So let me go to a different day here. That's the 13th and the 16th. That's not going to be it. Let me put quotes around his name. Okay, I'm going to get rid of Eugene. Just keep Hans. Alright, 13th. We did that one. 20th. Teacher's murder is investigated. I think everybody's left but the mods. You notice that? Like right here. There's nobody else commenting except moderators. What happened? Great, 'cause you're not talking about Kohberger, you bastard. Maryland State Police at Benson are continuing to work up leads in the murder case of a 32-year-old Baltimore County school teacher who was found buried here last week in a shallow grave. Detective Sergeant Merrill, a Messick, one of the investigators on the case, reports that police are continuing their probe into the slaying of Hans Eugene Mitchell. Police have questioned several people and searched the victim's background in an effort to track back to the time of Mr. Mitchell's death. Once this information is obtained, police will work from that point in time. Sergeant Messick explained that law enforcement officers have also checked quarries, ponds, and remote areas for the Baltimore County school teacher's 1967 light blue Volkswagen, which has been missing since September 23rd. Police are also searching for a 9mm German Luger pistol in connection with the case. So it sounds like he was shot. This is Christmas. Teacher's murder still unsolved. Maryland State Police at Benson are continuing their probe into the murder case of a 32-year-old Baltimore County school teacher who was found buried here on November 8th in a shallow grave. Detective Sergeant Merrill, A. Messick, one of the investigators on the case, reports that state troopers are continuing their investigation. Police have questioned several people and researched the victim's background in an effort to track back to the time of Mr. Mitchell's death, but no arrests have been made at this time. The detective sergeant explained that law enforcement officers have also checked quarries, ponds, and remote areas for the Baltimore County. Yeah, this is... I think this one was cold as hell, wasn't it? Got that one. And the 30th. Let's see if they had anything extra on this one. There's still a car that was missing, right? There's looking for the 1967 blue Volkswagen. The state attorney general argued in federal... No, it's something else. This right here. Maryland State Police have asked for help from the public in solving 2 apparently unrelated murders. And that was... They're looking for that vehicle. Let's see. January 1976. And then if there's any other... Yeah, see, there's nothing now. 1976 to 1990. Is there even another... Oh, what about that? Is this related? Teacher's murder at large. Ah, this is 1978 on January. But man, so that's 3 years later. Should we check this one out? Maryland State Police at the Bel Air Barracks are continuing their probe into the murder case of 32-year-old Baltimore County schoolteacher who was found buried here on November 8, 1975 in a shallow grave near Edgewood. Authorities said that although the investigation into the shooting death of Hans Eugene Mitchell is not intensive at the time, the case is still open. Police have questioned dozens of people and researched the victim's background in an effort to track back to the time of Mr. Mitchell's death, but no arrests have been made. The body of the Baltimore County schoolteacher was discovered November 8, 1975 by a White Marsh man and his 2 sons who were hunting in a densely wooded area. According to police reports at the time of the incident, the hunters were in the forest when they noticed one leg, the left arm, and part of the man's head sticking above the leaf-covered ground. The Bel Air Barracks of the Maryland State Police was notified of the incident, and a criminal investigator was sent to the scene. He determined that it was the body of a human, and the other police were called in. Using their hands and trowels, police freed the body from the approximately 18-inch deep grave. Police determined that the 5-foot-long grave had been dug with a shovel. The victim, who police later learned was a mathematics teacher at Dunkirk Senior High School, had been shot in the back of the head. So it's kind of crazy. It's like a execution. Authorities were at first unable to identify the body. I bet the hole was dug before he got there. But phone calls from the victim's friends and relatives who had heard about the unidentified body on the radio and from newspaper reports led police to make the identification. Mr. Mitchell, who was a first-year teacher at the Baltimore County High School and who lived on Erdman Avenue in the city, had been reported missing to the Baltimore City Police Department by friends on September 26, 1975. He was not seen on September 23rd. He was last seen on September 23rd, 1975, at Dunkirk Senior High School. Following the discovery of the murdered man's body in the Edgewood Forest, police immediately began to canvass homes in the area in an effort to determine if anyone had any information about the slaying. That'd be weird if he knew Susanna Thatcher somehow. Police check quarries, ponds, and remote. Yeah, you said that. It says Hans Mitchell's clothing were also not in disarray, indicating that there was no struggle before he was killed. It was almost like they just placed him there and then shot him execution style. So it makes you wonder. I mean, he's a teacher, so he's not obviously, not likely that he's in drugs or anything like that. So this is somebody that just wants to take him out, I can't remember if he was like part of some board or something. Yeah, so there's nothing, no more in there. Crazy, yeah. All right, currently we are, let's see, 30, about 20 away from me gifting 5 memberships. Can we do that as a group? Is it possible? should be. And it shouldn't be that difficult. Oh, here's another random one. Just absolutely no information at all. Esther Valdez, missing person, presumed murder, September 7th, 1984. And the only thing I could ever even find was this article here. And it actually is talking about two different people. Who are you talking about, Danny? During the past 12 years, private investigator Manuel Lopez of Albuquerque has solved numerous missing person cases, but the files on Deborah Salazar and Esther Valdez remain open. Lopez isn't optimistic about either case. It'd be a miracle if these two were alive, he said. Salazar, so that's about the other person down below, an Albuquerque resident, disappeared more than 7 years ago after visiting a former husband, Barney Salazar. Well, we know where that, what happened there. Family members discovered her abandoned 1979 Datsun the next day about a quarter mile from her ex-husband's trailer home. Inside, investigators found her purse and a pair of broken glasses. There were no signs of a struggle, Lopez said, other than the broken glasses. Lopez has always believed that Deborah Salazar, then 25, was murdered and buried somewhere in the McIntosh area between Estancia and Moriarty. 2 years after the disappearance, Lopez returned to the area after getting a tip from a retired police officer about where the body might be buried. Searchers dug up a bracelet and a cigarette lighter, and family members identified as Salazar's. They didn't find a body. Salazar's mother, Barbara, I wonder how that detective knew that. Salazar's mother, Barbara Gabaldon, said, so this is Esther Valdez up here. I guess we're still on this person right here. Salazar's mother, Barbara Gabaldon, said there hasn't been another lead. Not a word, she said. It still hurts, but that's the way it goes, she said. It's just one of those things you wish they'd find the body and get it over with. The Gabaldons continue to raise Salazar's 3 daughters. We talk openly about the mom, she said. And then here's the other one. 18-year-old Esther Valdez disappeared from Chama, New Mexico, I guess, in September of 1984. She had run away twice before, 4 short periods of time, according to Lopez's records. So for short, she would just run away and come back. However, her third disappearance was different. Her parents last saw her on a Friday after school. Her wallet was found in a town a few days later. A friend of hers told Lopez that she and Esther went to a bar with a couple men after school. The friend left and didn't see Esther. Well, thanks, Alley Cake, for giving it a shot. It's just, I guess today's, one of those days. I wouldn't have thought it, but however, her third disappearance, Friday afternoon, so it says, her parents last saw her on a Friday after school. Her wallet was found in a town a few days later. A friend of hers told Lopez that she and Esther went to a bar. This one's, I think I may have discussed this case at one time, because it actually had it in a folder of mine, but there's no information on it. Thank you, Vicky White. So a friend of hers told Lopez that she and Esther went to a bar with a couple men after school. The friend left and didn't see Esther until after midnight. She said Esther came to her house and asked if she wanted to go camping with her and the man she was with. The friend declined. According to Lopez notes, Esther left. The friend heard a car door slam, and Esther never came back. Around the time she disappeared, she was to have gone to court, said her mother, Azucena Valdez. Lopez said that she was to testify against a bar owner who had been cited for allowing her in his bar even though she was underage. Mrs. Valdez said friends of the family have reported seeing Esther in Albuquerque, Farmington, and Colorado, but she escaped. Yeah, that's whoever that was that took her, quote, camping, killed her. Maybe it was somebody that tried to flirt with her to make it seem like she was, like he was trying to hook up with her, but it was really, maybe he was employed by the bar owner who didn't want her to testify. And she just disappeared off the face of the earth. Yeah. It's strange. It's people that know her and they don't talk to her. Hey, thanks, Judy Grandstrand. All right, very cool. All right, let's see. Maybe I can do... I'm using the... To get to the goal, I'm using the memberships. So there you go. Who's going to get them? We've got... And thanks, Allie Cake and Vicky White and everybody else. Got Mel Carter, KS, Beverly Ray, Foley Can 12, and Jenna. I actually know a girl that looks just like that. Yeah, so this is 1988. See? Yeah, there's just almost nothing, but you can get it. There's enough where you kind of go, oh, yeah, wow. That's a crazy one, right? She's at a bar, and there's a couple guys, and then she goes over, hey, you want to come with us camping? And that girl probably saved her own life by not going camping. Hey, thanks, Birdie284. Hey, we're going to do a... I do have a couple articles on Kohberger if you guys want to do that. Take a look at it. And I do have this other longer. It's like quite a bit longer. I mean, look at this one. Here, look at that. A kid named Christopher Harper. It's kind of an interesting story. You know, kind of make it just, it's one of those ones that does make you at times question law enforcement. You know, like, geez, you guys, you know, what's going on here? You know, I'm a big supporter of law enforcement, but there's some big screw-ups out there. Anyways, Brian Kohberger was investigated in home invasion case a year before Idaho murders. So they were looking at something that seemed similar. Brian Kohberger, the suspect in the 2022 murders of 4 University of Idaho students, was previously investigated in connection to a home invasion in Washington State a year before the killing. Was he investigated before he was a suspect, though? According to body camera footage shared by ABC News, police in Pullman, Washington responded to an alleged home invasion in 2021, less than 10 miles from the off-campus residence where the 4 University of Idaho students, Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Anna Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, 20, were fatally stabbed. As reported by ABC News, the female resident in the body camera footage tells police that a masked intruder broke into her Pullman home at approximately 3:30 a.m. and held a knife. I heard my door open, the woman says.
per the body camera footage. And I looked over at someone, and someone was wearing a ski mask and had a knife. And so I kicked the crap out of this person's stomach and screamed super loud. I'm trying to figure out, how did that work? Like, how did you kick the person in the stomach over and over again? And they like flew back into the closet. And then after they ran out of the closet, they ran out my door and up the stairs. I'm totally confused about that entire recollection. In a Pullman Police Department report added by ABC News, the suspect was silent during the incident. Authorities were not able to find a suspect or evidence after one of the roommates immediately contacted police. So they found nothing. On December 30th, 2022, Moscow police said that Brian Kohberger was arrested in Pennsylvania in connection with the November 13th, 2022 murders of Chapin, Coronado, Mogan, and Gonzalez. According to a probable cause affidavit seen by people, authorities believe the fatal stabbings took place between 4 and... Well, I actually can tell you that the stabbings took place between 4:09 and 4:18. Okay? So I can narrow it further than they keep saying over and over and over again. It also added that a sheath of the knife used in the killings was left at the scene in the bed where Mogan and Gonzalez were found dead. The affidavit stated that one of the surviving roommates said they saw the killer described in the documents, a figure clad in black clothing and a mask, and he walked past her as he left the crime scene. That's Dylan Mortensen. ABC News reported that 13 days after the arrest of Kohberger was named by authorities as a person of interest in the Pullman, Washington incident. Okay, so now we know the answer. 13 days after he was arrested. However, according to the police report, the female resident described the suspect as between 5'3" and 5'5". Well, that's a little bit shorter, while Kohberger is 6 feet tall. Authorities said that Kohberger... Why would you look at it then? Authorities also said that Kohberger, a Pennsylvania resident, had not yet enrolled in Washington State University or visited the institution as a prospective student, ABC News reported. Right. So here's what's going to happen. This article here is going to be the Kohbergers are going to go, look, see, they got the wrong guy. There's this guy here, look. Even though Dylan Mortensen described him as way taller than 5'3" and 5'5", right? She said like 5'11", 6 feet, or whatever it was. It was something like that. This guy's 5'3" to 5'5". Sounds like Richard Allen was in over there. That's wild. So Richard Allen was in Moscow. He was in Pullman, Washington, before he was even arrested. Isn't that amazing? Whoa! What in the hell is... God, Richard Allen. My God. Richard Allen's everywhere these days, Authorities also said that Kohberger, a Pennsylvania resident, had not yet enrolled in Washington State. Yeah, the Pullman Police Department also told the news outlet that Kohberger is no longer a person of interest in the alleged Pullman home invasion. Okay, well, why'd you do an article about it then? Yeah? All right, let's see. What was the other one? There was another article here. It was this one. Accused Idaho college killer Brian Kohberger's trial date pushed back. So now it's like in August. Man, does anybody think it's even going to be in August? Boise, Idaho, Brian Kohberger, the former criminology PhD student accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students in 2022, is now scheduled to go to trial on August 11th, 2025, which is later than originally planned. Fox News reports that in June, Judge John Judge ordered the trial to start on June 2nd, 2025, after both the defense and prosecution agreed. The trial is now scheduled for August 11th to November 7th. August, September, October. Man, that is 4 months. That's crazy. Per a new order issued on Wednesday, Kohberger was granted a change of venue in September, which moved the trial from Latah County, the county where the murder took place and where the defense argued would impact Kohberger's right to a fair trial. A hearing remains scheduled for November 7th, 2024. That's old. This must be... A hearing remains scheduled. What's going on? This is an article from December 17th. Oh, it's updated. Okay, I get it. So it's updated. This new part came in here. All right. So we got that. Now, do you want me to go over that the Christopher Harper one? It's pretty interesting how that one plays out. It's a long one though, you guys. Gonna need some fuel. Maybe I'll kind of just okay, so there we go. So it's Christopher Harper. This is 1975. This 4-year-old kid here. Let me move myself somewhere else. I'll put it over here. How about right below the buy me a coffee? You know, we only have one coffee tonight and only, I think, 6 memberships, and one of them was bought by a family members of a victim's family member. Come on, you guys. We can do better than that. 4-year-old missing in South Richmond. All right, so here it is right here. Let me type in coffee, you guys. Hopefully that works. I mean, this is the worst coffee night we've had so far. See if we can get a couple more in there. 4-year-old missing in South Richmond. A 4-year-old South Richmond child has been missing from home since early yesterday afternoon. Thanks, Charlotte. Appreciate it. The child, Christopher Harper, was last seen near his home in Jefferson Village. So this is in Virginia. Let's make a Christopher Harper. It's been kind of cool being able to do old school shows. It's just really a struggle. Yeah. Hey, thanks, Charlotte. It says the child, Christopher Harper, was last seen near his home in Jefferson Village Apartments. Is that still there? Jefferson Village Apartments. Is this in Richmond, VA? Jefferson Townhouses. I bet you that is the same. Right there, maybe? Yeah, these, perhaps. Alright, I'll just guess at that. You know, who knows if that's actually the spot, but... Alright. Some 250 policemen, rescue squadsmen, and volunteers searched for the boy until about 11 p.m. when it was called off for the night. They said they would resume looking for the boy soon after daylight this morning. The boy's mother had called City Juvenile Division Police about 2:45 p.m. Mrs. Sandra Harper said her son had been playing with neighbor children who told her Christopher had gone towards toward the wooded area behind the apartment complex. Yeah, let's see if we go back to like 1990. What does it look like? Yeah. See, then it goes to like 80s. So 2003 is the earliest that looks like you actually see something. But that's interesting. See, those buildings aren't there, but maybe he lived in these, right? So he lived like these still look like they're apartments, right? I guess what we could do is go down to, let's try this Google Maps situation. So you look at that, and then you go down to Street View. So let's just say these are the apartments. However, that's what they look like now. That's obviously an upgrade, but let's see if there's all the way back in 2007. I have a feeling it doesn't. Yeah, look at that. I mean, not even close. So probably lived in those apartments right there. You see that? Right there. Wouldn't that be cool if there was an actual sign? But you can see that's totally different. Yeah, so it could be right there. I mean, obviously it didn't look the same as it does now, for sure. Two juvenile officers began the search, routinely checking areas along Midlothian. By about 5 p.m., 10 policemen were looking for Christopher, but he'd gone towards the wooded area behind the apartment complex. Yeah, I guess if we ever get to his the name. Alright, so there's that, and the second page of that is this one. Search for the child. The need for searchers was broadcast on citizen band radio. Team headed by policemen and by members of the Forest View Volunteer Rescue Squad carefully searched the woods, aided by the city police helicopter. The aircraft was also used to direct searchers on the ground and to help some of the searchers who became lost themselves. We still have no other coffees, you guys. We're definitely going to need more of those. Father in the search. Christopher's father, William Harper, was among those who were searching with flashlights and lanterns. Police said the child's parents had said their son was prone to go off by himself. Lieutenant Marvin E. Caldwell said he felt the boy was not in the woods, but had perhaps wandered away, found a hiding place, and was afraid to come home. After covering the woods last night, Caldwell said police would check stores in the area, etc. Right. Then on the 24th, search continues for the missing child. About 100 rescue squad members, some tracking dogs, and police helicopters also aided in seeking Christopher Glenn Harper, who had been missing from his home since early Saturday afternoon. At about 4:45 p.m. yesterday, the mood was one of grim resignation inside the police mobile command post. In the back of the van, a police lieutenant spoke quietly with an unshaven William and ashen-faced Sandra Harper. Alright, I'm going to try to see if I can find them. Hold on. I was looking for that. So it's Sandra Harper. And this is in Richmond, Virginia, and she's probably 4-year-old. Let's say she's like 26 plus 50, like 78, something like that. There's one that's 75, 1949, 1975. That makes sense. Yeah. No, has nothing to do with Gacy. This is a 4-year-old kid. Wow, 46 email addresses? Who in the hell has that many email addresses? And what was the husband's name at the time? So William. "19 possible relatives." Now there's a Willie. I don't know. Don't know if that's the right one or not. That age was pretty good though. Yeah, let me look at the addresses. Oh wait, there's one. Well, and she's from Richmond, Virginia too. So. It's not a visor, it's a hat, Morgan. Can't you tell? It's just a regular, like, stocking cap. Yeah. Richmond. It's got tons and tons of addresses. But I don't know if this is the right one. Let's see. This person lived there with the same name at one point. But that's about it. Alright, you guys, not sure if you're aware, but we got at the top of the screen, the Buy Me a Coffee up there. That one takes less money from out. Okay, so if you guys want to do that, that'd be great. Just trying to, get the income up on the channel. There is no ad revenue on this one. There won't be any, because I've used about 4 or 5 of the different buzzwords that they don't like. Hey, it looks like Lisa Valenzuela showed up with one. That's good. Thank you, Lisa Valenzuela. Alright, so we got about 4:45 yesterday. The mood was got grim. The search on foot, which was interrupted about 11 p.m. Saturday, was resumed at 7:20. No sign was found. Police said the active search on foot for... I wanted to use a dog, Christopher was described by his father as being about 3 feet tall and having curly blonde hair. He said Christopher was wearing maroon-colored pants with pink trim pockets in the front and blue flannel shirt. No hat, no gloves, Harper added, standing hunched over in the biting wind beside the police command post. He said the last person he knows who saw Christopher on Saturday was the mother of a neighbor girl who asked the boy to play elsewhere after he and the little girl argued. Oh, Jesus. He said the woman did not see where Christopher went. A command post remained in operation on Midlothian Turnpike, and extra police continued to cover the area by car. I feel someone picked him up, said Harper. Someone who wants a child or some pervert. If he was in the woods and all night, he'd call out. And then 25th, alert issued for man. Police today issued statewide alert for a man they said is wanted for questioning in connection with the possible abduction of a 3-year-old South Richmond boy. The alert for Albert Martin Orth, issued at 1:09 a.m., said Orth was known to have left the same area on the same day that blonde, curly-haired Christopher Harper vanished. The Harper child was last seen about 1:30 p.m. Saturday near a patch of woods not far from the home. Intensive searches by police, rescue squadmen, and armies of volunteers have turned up no trace of the boy. There were reports of the boy headed towards a wooded area, but Harper said Christopher was afraid of the woods and that he doubted the child actually entered them. More than 500 persons searched the wooded area in vain for the missing boy. Man sought in case of missing boy. So they're still looking for this person. I'll probably just not read that. Police issue state alert for suspect in kidnapping. Police here said Tuesday a man sought for questioning regarding the disappearance of 3-year-old Christopher Harper last Saturday was not suspected of being involved in the disappearance. Virginia police were asked Tuesday to be on the lookout for Albert Martin Orth. Richmond police said Orth was wanted for questioning in the possible abduction of the boy, but police later said Orth was not a suspect. Okay. So why even have an article about it? And then here it goes. 3-year-old's body is found in a river. So my first thought when I heard that was, what, he just wandered off and like fell in the water? The body of Christopher Glenn Harper was found yesterday afternoon on the south side of the James River off the 800 block. So I guess we can try to get this. James River off the 800 block of Riverside Drive. So 8,000. So 8,000 Riverside Drive. Okay, so we probably don't... Well, I guess that would... Is that downstream? No. The water goes... Well, I can't tell, actually. Looks like the water goes this way, though. So if he's found right there, then he must have been upstream from there. So maybe we don't have the right apartment complex. Riverside Drive by a workman who was going to bury the remains of a deer. The 3-year-old who first was reported missing about 2 p.m. Saturday was found floating face up in shallow water. Assistant State Medical Examiner Marcella F. Fierro said last night after completing an autopsy that the child died of suffocation. She said the body had been in the river for some time and had been placed in there after Christopher was dead. So was there no water in his lungs? She said that additional tests were being conducted to determine whether the boy had been sexually assaulted. She said there were other injuries to the body but would not elaborate. Christopher's father, William, was taken to the scene and he identified the body. I mean, what a nightmare. The body was found between Mennekin and Shirley Roads. Mennekin Road. Okay. So that's Mennekin Road. And here's Shirley. So that might have continued at one point to there. Yeah, so like, I would just probably put it like right there. Something. The body was found between Mennekin and Shirley Road by an employee of a homeowner whose yard fronts the river drive. Missing boy believed suffocated. Dr. Marcella S. Fierro said Christopher Harper, who had been vanished from the South Richmond apartment complex last Saturday, was dead before he was put in the river. She said that the body had been in the water for some time. The medical examiner's office called the death an apparent homicide. Mr. Ferrero said additional tests were being conducted to determine whether the boy had been sexually assaulted. She said there were other injuries to the body, but would not elaborate. A police spokesman said it's very good possibility the child was picked up, taken to the spot, and tossed into the river. Police acknowledged boy suffocation, very rough case. The youngster was last seen alive near his home about 1:30 p.m. Saturday. Mrs. Sandra Harper, 21, became worried. So if she was 21 there, she'd be, let's see, basically 49 plus 21, 70 years old, right? So I had one that was 69. Let's see, hold on. That might be the one. Yeah, we said no water in the lungs already, Gen Exodus. Try to catch up, man. All right, let's see. Phone number, no. Address history. How about relatives for this one? No, that's probably her, but there's no relatives in there. Let me try this one other one. No. Well, let's see. 2813 Richmond. This is an apartment, so maybe, does it make sense, that one? No. I guess they're just not in there. Apparent murder of Tot baffling. Then we've got, so then there's an arrest made. Marvin Leon Grim, 20, is led from district court today after being charged with murder in the slaying of 3-year-old Christopher Glenn Harper. Grim is flanked by Richmond police officers. Man held in murder. A 20-year-old man was arrested today and charged with murdering 3-year-old, 3 or 4. They keep switching it up. Glenn Harper, whose body was found in the James River 5 days after he disappeared from his home last month. Marvin Leon Grim of Richmond was arrested early this morning. He was held temporarily under $25,000 bond. A district court judge increased the bond to $50,000. Grim had taken 2 polygraph tests at state police headquarters. Police said the suspect was last examined Tuesday. Harper and his wife also took polygraph tests. So that means, the victims, the parents took polygraph tests. During the court hearing, security was tighter than usual. The Harper's child's body was found in several inches of water not far from the river's edge by a gardener. An autopsy report concluded the child died of suffocation. And then this one says, suspect child slayer held under $50,000 bond. The Richmond man was charged with the November 22nd murder of young Christopher Harper. An autopsy determined initially that suffocation was the cause of death. But police records indicate Wednesday that his death was a result of a sexual assault. Christopher Harper disappeared from the Jefferson Village apartments while playing outside with friends, his mother told police. Grim certified to grand jury in kidnapping slaying. Richmond judge has certified to a grand jury charges of murder, abduction, and sodomy filed against a young laborer in the November kidnap slaying of 3-year-old Christopher Harper. The accused man, Marvin Leon Grim Jr., 20, sat quietly in court Wednesday during a hearing at which a detective testified he admitted picking up Harper boy in his car the day he vanished. The child's body was found in the James River several miles from his parents' apartment 5 days later. Trial date is set in death case. Marvin Leon Grim Jr., 20, will be tried March 25th in Richmond Circuit Court on charges of murder, abduction, and sodomy in the November 22nd death of 3-year-old Christopher Glenn Harper. So it's just, they're piling it on there. And then a couple weeks after this, lawyers for Grim subpoena 12 people. Leon Grim Jr., 20, charged with murder, abduction, and sodomy in the November 22nd death of 3-year-old Christopher Glenn Harper, have had subpoenas issued for a group of policemen, a psychiatrist, and 3 local reporters. In all, 12 persons have been subpoenaed for a hearing Friday on defense motions in the case. However, copies of the motions themselves were not in the circuit court. So they're just kind of going through the trial stuff here. Grim ordered to yield evidence. So I remember reading this one. They were allowed to take hair samples, etc. So James River, November 26, has been ordered to submit 10 hairs from his head and 3 saliva swabs to authorities preparing for his trial on murder, abduction, and sodomy. An order compelling Grim to turn over the samples was entered Tuesday by Judge Frank A.S. Wright in Circuit Division 2. Then about a week later, Grim pleads guilty. Look at that. Jesus. Marvin Lee Grim Jr., a 20-year-old laborer, pleaded guilty Wednesday to the charges of abduction, sodomy, and murder in the November disappearance and death of a 3-year-old South Richmond boy. Welcome, Jeremy Pearson. The unexpected pleas in Richmond Circuit Court left Grim subject to maximum sentencing totaling 2 life terms and 10 years. He had been scheduled to go on trial next month. Grim was charged in the kidnapped death of Christopher Harper, who vanished from his parents' apartment home November 22nd and was found dead in the James River 4 days later. Right, then 5 days after that, murder of boy to be sentenced. Then, like 2 months after that, Richmond man gets life sentence. A 21-year-old Richmond man has been sentenced to life in prison on a charge of murdering a 3-year-old boy whose body was found floating in the James River last November. Marvin Leon Grim stood expressionless Tuesday as Richmond Circuit Court Judge Frank A.S. Wright pronounced the sentence for the November 22nd murder of Christopher Glenn Harper. All right. Then 1977, the case, let's see, what's this one? It says, hearing set for Richmond man accused of kidnap slaying. So there's another one. It says, the case provided a grim reminder. So, like you got this case, a February 24th hearing was set Wednesday for Alfonso Williams, a jobless 24-year-old loner, accused in Richmond's second kidnapping slaying of a small boy in less than 15 months. The second one was Christopher Harper. All right, then there was nothing in the papers at all. And then look at this. Virginia exonerates man who spent 45 years in prison for death of 3-year-old. And this is actually, I couldn't believe it. I was just random. I mean, if I had covered this case a year ago, we wouldn't have this right here. June 18th, 2024, on a Saturday afternoon in 1975, a 3-year-old boy wandered into the woods behind the apartment this is in the New York Times. Behind the apartment complex where he lived in Richmond, Virginia. 4 days later, the toddler's body was found floating in shallow water in James River, fully clothed, arms folded across his chest 9 miles from home. From there, the horror only grew. Forensic experts told the police that the boy had a gob of semen in the back of his throat and determined that he had been strangled during a sexual assault. Alcohol and muscle relaxants were found in his blood, according to court documents. About a month later, in December, the police arrested Marvin Leon Grim, Jr., a 20-year-old Navy veteran, picking him up after his shift at a carpeting company and questioning him for 9 hours. Mr. Grim, who had no criminal record, lived across the hall from the boys' family and had argued with them over minor issues like toys that were damaged by his lawnmower. He was married, and his first child, a son, had been born 10 days before his arrest. After the interrogation, he confessed to abduction, the sexual assault, and murder, eventually serving 45 years in prison for the killing before being released on parole in 2020. But as the years passed and forensic science improved, the story of the boy's death unraveled. A new analysis of the toxicology report showed that the prosecution's timeline of the crime was virtually impossible, and the only physical evidence connecting Mr. Grim to the victim were 8 strands of hair found in Mr. Grim's car and on his coat, which a state forensic scientist said were all consistent with the victim, according to court documents. Later it turned out that none of the hairs belonged to the victim. Jeez. In fact, they were from several people. More significant, Mr. Grim's DNA was nowhere to be found in swabs from the victim's body. And the alleged semen was not semen at all, calling into question not just the medical examiner's ruling on the manner of death, but also Grim's entire confession, since he had described a sexual assault. That detail had to come from the police. It could not have originated with Marvin Grim, said Peter Neufeld, a co-founder of the Innocence Project, which handled the case with Arnold A. Porter, a private law firm. It's a smoking gun detail which provides compelling evidence of the falsity of the confession. On Tuesday, the Virginia Court of Appeals granted Mr. Grim a writ of actual innocence, fully absolving him of the crime. The State Attorney General Jason Myers, a Republican, had supported Mr. Grim's innocent claim, writing in a court brief, "No rational trier of fact would convict him in light of all the evidence." Mr. Grim said that he had nearly given up in 2017, telling God that he was leaving it up to him. As he said in an interview, "If you're going to let me out, let me out. If you're going to keep me in, keep me in. I'm not going to stop worshiping you." And then it says, the appeals court noted on Tuesday that little was known about false confessions in the mid-1970s. Since then, research has shown that oppressive interrogation conditions like extended questioning and misrepresentation of facts or evidence by police can induce people to say, yeah, see how different that is than Richard Allen? That wasn't going on at all. He literally went and confessed on his own. It's crazy. More than 10% of wrongful convictions involve false confessions, according to the National Registry of Exonerations. Mr. Grim is now among the exonerees. I hope he got like millions of dollars. Mr. Grim is now among the exonerees who have served the most years in prison. The National Registry of Exoneration says that the longest time served was 48 years. All told, the registry says the wrongful convicted have served 25,000 years. Jesus. How sick is that? And that's one of the things. See, I'm for the death penalty, but we need to have it more like it's rare, It's rare. Because, the fact that we've exonerated people off of death row means that prior to DNA, we executed innocent people. And I would say this, if you execute one innocent person, then you shouldn't have the death penalty. Because I would say this. I would rather have 25 killers spend the rest of their life in prison than to execute one innocent person. And I hope everybody feels that way, because I think it's disgusting that and that's happened. Because before DNA, all those people were executed. And then DNA exonerated people. So, I don't know, man. So I think you need to get to a point where it's really specific, clear, is no doubt type of, like, there's certain criteria is met, then you can have the death penalty. Yeah. Much of the key evidence that linked Mr. Grim to the killing was the work of Mary Jane Burton, a senior analyst at Virginia Crime Lab who died in 1999. Miss Burton, who worked at the State Crime Lab from 73 to 88, was once hailed because it was discovered that she had preserved evidence that helped lead to several exonerations. But in a recent podcast investigation of Miss Burton's work, a whistleblower revealed that she had tried to alert officials that Miss Burton was cutting corners and falsifying results, and an independent expert said that the serology evidence that Miss Burton had analyzed in one of her own cases excluded the man who went on to be convicted of the crime. The podcast also noted that there were several accounts of shoddy work by Miss Burton and perceptions that she favored the prosecution. Yeah. Anyways, that's the gist of it, you guys. Just total garbage. It was in newspapers.com too. Man exonerated. So that was him back there, and that's him as an adult. And so there you go. There you have it. That's him back then too. Crazy. But anyways, all right, you guys, I'm going to take off. Man, it's just so brutal when you do the cold case nights. It's tough. But anyways, let's see. We've got, I want to say thanks to the people who supported the channel. Got Brown Eyed Girl, Herbert Landscaping, and without Amber Maiden, we would have been not even 50%. And then LA, Your Gypsy, WNC Granny, Michelle H., Morier, Alley Cake, Michelle H. gifted a membership. Alley Cake, then Jim Lawn, then Jessica Schubach, Kat D. Let's see. Yeah. Look at that. Even that little goal that I set up, 9 out of 30. Horrendous. And then Jan Webster, the actual sister of a victim, gifted 5 memberships. Shouldn't have to do that. Alley Cake, Amber Maiden, then Vicky White, Jessica Schubach, Alley Cake, Vicky White, then Judy Grandstrand, then I gifted 5 memberships, then Birdie 284, then we also had Linda Howe and Lisa Valenzuela on the coffees. Awesome. Anyways, thanks. We got to some sort of a minor goal amount. It's just, you guys see it, right? The difference, It's pretty wild. Shouldn't matter what we're covering. Yeah. Yep, you tried, Amber. Well, you made up, you're basically 50%. So thank you. Without you, it was going to be a nightmare. But thanks everybody who did help out. I appreciate it. And we'll see you guys. I guess tomorrow is the 27th, right? What the hell does tomorrow have to offer? We don't know. But I definitely, I want to do a call-in, a Delphi one, where it's open to anybody to call in to make, try to, give one element that shows that Richard Allen isn't the guy. I just want to, I'm going to open it up. I'll start it early. We'll let it go on and on and on. And anybody can call in But I mainly want people to call in who think that they have some sort of evidence out there. You know, I think that'd be interesting. But anyways, thanks everybody. I do try to get to the goals and try to reach the, because I can't make money just sort of appear. So, you know, it's not, don't let it bother you if you can't afford. I don't want anybody sending a nickel who can't afford anything. You know, what I'm looking for are people that can help support the channel, that are here, and we can just kind of keep moving forward. We're like, oh yeah, by the way, I updated the number. I forgot to do it during the show. What we're at now is, I think it's 226,500 and 47,000 for the year. I'm going to try to get to like 49. I don't know if I can get to 50 now because it's just been so much slower this last 2 weeks of the month. Kind of. Oh, look at the dogs. Hey, we could watch them for a couple minutes. Let's see. Oh, did they take off? What happened to them? They were right there. Oh, there they are. Uh-oh. Oh, geez, they're about to do something. Even though they're two males, man. I like Benny's really sweet. The one on top there. Very, you just pick him up and he just stays still. Man, Clancy, man, he's a hyper little wacko, man. Just all over. Oh, what's going on there, Clancy? What's going on, man? Yeah, we'll see if we can get people to call in. It's going to be up to them, though. Anyways, we'll see you guys later. Thanks for being here, and hope you guys, did you guys find those cases interesting at least? That last one is crazy, right? It's ridiculous. It's like, yeah, Clancy's a little bit mischievous there. But that last one just sucks. I'm not even sure why. They must really believe she was, or he was strangled or something, to have, still have it listed as unsolved. Yeah, pretty interesting. All right, thanks everybody. See you guys later, and be safe out there. And a 1 and a 2 and a 3. You guys should get this hat too. Don't you guys like my the hat? Other than the ball on the top of it, probably get rid of that. I don't even know where there it is.
Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person that is a...
I think I'm going to wear it for a while.
Crime dissector, plug rejector. I'm a certified human lie detector. I'm gonna get you on a stretcher if you try and play me like an old projector. Crime sector is my nectar. Professor Gray is gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a pop protector. Fool deflector, interceptor, and I'm meaner than a spectre with a vector on his pector. With all respect, y'all, just remember I've a temple fucking check ya. I have no agenda, I'm no pretender, and I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender. Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. All right, everybody, talk to you later.
Correct.